See, the thing is, if you don't pay for premium material, then you're not going to have your house look like a designer kind of a theme or a style.
Like 90% of people may not really understand what true luxury is.
Don't go for Taobao.
The fact is, there's this level of indecisiveness. They want knockoff, but they want trust.
This kind of service you will never get if you purchase from online.
We don't design for fast. Today you use it, tomorrow you throw it.
End of the day, I think customers, what they want is get the solution done, fixed, let's go.
Renovation isn't just about tiles and mood boards. It's about people and the personalities, as well as the stories that help make the decisions. I'm Astley Ng, aka The Designer. Join me for the Season 2 of the SIXiDER Show. Hello everyone, welcome to this episode of the SIXiDER Show. And this is Season 2. Joining me today, we have 3 very glib-tongued guests. So today we have Fruits and King. So joining me on my very left is actually Ely from King Living. All right, and then we have Julie from Lemonfridge. And then we have Ivan from Orange Interior. That's why I say we are joined by 1 royalty and two fruits. Okay, so maybe you give the floor to, let's start with Ely. You can share a little bit more about yourself and the business.
So basically, I'm Ely. I come from King Living. We've been in the business for about 11 years, started at very humble beginnings, and now I am the regional manager of Southeast Asia.
Oh, King Living is furniture, right? For
Yes.
those who may not know, yeah. And the brand is actually from
Australia. So it's actually family founded. It still is a family owned business since 1977. So the thing about us is we own the business fully integrated, whereby we design, manufacture and retail and after sales as well.
Your presence is beyond the region.
Yesterday, we just opened up another showroom in Canada. So that takes us up to 40 showrooms globally right now.
Oh, MNC. You all know furniture. Okay, then we have Julie from Lemonfridge.
Hi, my name is Julie. I'm an interior designer with Lemonfridge. I've been in this industry for 5 years, and I'm pursuing this industry out of my passion.
Awesome. Ivan, your turn.
Hi everybody, my name is Ivan. I'm the founder of the Orange Interior, and this is our 8 years, and I'm in this industry for 10 years.
So I asked him before, but since you're the founder of Orange Interior, I should have asked you why is your company called Orange?
I think it all comes from a Chinese word called 橙. How we call orange in Mandarin is 橙嘛, orange. So 橙 represents, honest.
谐音啦.
Yes,
sounds
honest,
like, yeah.
And the fruitful outcome that we deliver to our homeowners or any our valued clients. So, and the color of orange also represents, luxury. Right? When you go to, Hermes, you go to LV, all they're basically using orange for all their, brand identities. There were a few reasons, for me to choose this name as the company name. Yes.
Nice. Okay, so today's episode is kind of unique because we actually have a furniture retailer / manufacturer and then 2 designers. And the topic of furniture, I think all of us as designers, we at some point or other, besides us doing customization and all that, is that we will have to perhaps even sometimes spec and help homeowner in the process of like sourcing furnitures and to dress up the space to complete the work. And many a times, or in fact, many of the episodes that we have, we usually have the discussions with just the designers. So today we're very happy that Ely is joining us because then we can hear the furniture retailer's perspective on some of the decisions that the designer may be making, whether it's right or wrong. We can like debate about it, right? So if you're all ready, then let me begin with the icebreaker. I'm going to ask everyone's perspective on this, and largely, let's start with Ely. Like decision making. When it comes to furniture, husband and wife, who makes the decision faster?
From our experience being in Singapore in particular for the last 11 years, it really depends on who the paymaster is. I mean, it's really true, right? Some dynamics have a more powerful woman, others have a more, dominant man. So it really depends.
Okay, so beyond the pay and the decision making, like in terms of like checking out the furniture, sussing it out, testing it and all that.
Selection.
Yeah, the selection process, right? Who has a more dominant say?
The woman.
The woman. It's always the woman.
It's always a woman.
But then whether they end up paying or not paying is still the paymaster.
So usually within the 15 minutes of the conversation, when we approach a customer, right, we would already know, who is the paymaster and who is the decision maker and who drives more of that. The choosing of static or non-static also plays a part. The non-static is mainly for women, meaning to say the 2-seater, 3-seater, or L-shaped sofas. Mainly the women who decide. But if it's recliners, the men would come into the picture because it's more technology. You can put speakers within our smart pockets and stuff.
So the normal analog furniture is called a static.
Static, yeah.
It's your language or
It's just a industry language.
Industry language.
Yeah.
Do you all know this?
No.
No idea.
I just know about
Just know about it.
Static. Okay.
Okay.
Because women are simpler, right? They like something, they like it, but men are more
logical,
yeah.
Right? They think of the cost effectiveness, and
all of
they are
that
very
stuff.
interested about how these things can
So-
have smart functions.
It's the words we use every day. Then it's more a global language for people to come in and talk about. Yeah.
So the both of you, do you all also bring customers to choose furnitures?
Yeah, sometimes. We do. When customers are asking for like something that they want to have at home, like sofas, generally they will ask us if you have any designs in mind. So we can give them a few, or we can say, you know what, let's go shopping. And then we'll pick like some of the brands in Singapore that we can go to, depending on your budget. So then we will say, okay, shall we meet at this place? And then we'll go, then we'll seek out for, what kind of a sofa they like, and then customizable, or, depending on their request. A lot of furniture, I feel, they have a flexibility today. For example, if a client says, I've got pet at home, the sofa needs to be, the material needs to be really easy for me to look after. I tell you, a lot of times they say, I don't want to clean so much. And they want it to be like, I don't have to clean. Then I'm like, why don't you just get a helper at home? Yeah, but okay, these days our technology for materials are also, better. So people can just, wipe off, or even today, like a liquid fall onto a material, it just like, it
Slide
repels.
off.
Yeah, it slides off. So that's very interesting. So then the next question is, what's your budget? Yeah. So we cannot take them to a $10,000 life story shop when, their budget is 2005, right? But also we don't want to bring them to like IKEA, where it's fast-moving furniture, and then those furniture you only use for 2 years. So it really depends on what clients ask for.
Do you think that you have to play maybe the devil's advocate? Because largely, when a homeowner seeks a designer, besides the renovation process, right, they are also looking at you guys to play the devil's role, to say this doesn't work, this would be disproportionate in your space, the color would clash, and they just want you guys to say no to them. I don't know whether you guys have ever had that kind of situations where you're there for a reason and you cannot be a yes person all the way. Have you guys both had that kind of situations before? Let's start with Ivan.
Of course, and I think there are a few considerations when we try to involve in the furniture selections. The first type is those homeowners, they will bring their existing furnitures to their new place.
Yeah.
So we will check with them, because if so, then probably we don't have much area to play around. Okay, but of course we will advise. Let's say the new place we have renovated in a wabi-sabi style, but in their existing home they actually carry a lot of luxury, or vintage kind of furniture. Then we'll tell them straight that, hey, you know what, actually some of the pieces you might consider to reinvest, right, to get a new one so that you can fit the theme better. Okay, and there are another type of homeowners that they're probably not spending so much on design and build, the fit out, but they actually spend a lot on the furniture and decorations. I have ever handled a client's, it's a new condo. They actually spend about 80 over 1,000 for the furniture. And I remember
on furniture alone?
Yes,
Wow.
I remember very clearly they had even the light, the hanging light, they spent about 20,000, European made, and they bought a divider. It's 3 pieces of like crystal glass kind
Wow.
of divider. It costs about 30,000.
Baccarat.
Yes, and during the walk, we actually accidentally break one of the panel. I remember very clearly. And we have to bear this cost. And the total renovation probably cost about, around 50,000. So I do see this kind of people. There's another type of homeowners where, let's say it's a landed project client. They actually spend quite a lot for their A&A and interior. But they actually told us that, hey, can you guys share with me some Taobao link? So we don't mind, to purchase from Taobao. We want to save up some costs. So you see, it's very much, you can't really judge. You see, people staying, landed also, they will spend a lot on the furniture. So it really depends on people, how they plan their budget in the first place. Secondly, how they value the fixtures in their home.
I think it's interesting that you brought up that the fact that the accessibility to the ways that people will dress up their space right now, and then you have a lot of choices. In the past, it used to be like the weekends, you'll be, besides meeting the ID, right, it's furniture shopping. And then they will have to worry about lead time and all that. So they plan their reno, sui. But these days, they have access to Taobao. And then one of the more interesting things that you mentioned also is that potentially you may have heirloom pieces that you already have your grandfather left behind with the teak wood or the rose wood furniture that you want to bring to your nicely wabi-sabi home. I don't know how that's going to work. But I want to ask this multi-generational problem. Because we sometimes have, our family members that also want to keep that furniture. And then you guys design the spaces, and then you have a specific look in mind, but they insist on bringing one or two of those pieces, sentimental value, or really it's an heirloom. And then what do you do? How can you all solve that problem?
Some interior concept actually can fit very well with timeless furniture. Like actually wabi-sabi, contemporary, luxury style. I think they can share the same type of furniture. But wabi-sabi is slightly more different. Like you require more, organic materials, right? And also even like Chinese Zen, 新中式, recently very popular as well. So those interior style can share the same type of furniture. Okay. And other than that, I would say it does a bit tricky, for us to plan it in. Yeah, so we will usually create a corner, I would say, let's say, for example, the outer space, or let's say the dining area where you're going to welcome people for gathering, that you can actually place, vintage or very fantastic furniture that have kept for years, many years, to be placed at the area. Yeah, so that's how myself usually will do.
For me, I have a more creative concept to existing furniture. So there was a client who asked me, I want to keep this, I want to keep this, I want to keep this. But I also want, now with this, I want my TV console to shut. But I want to use these dividers that I have to shut. Wow, super challenging, right? I said, okay, you know what? It's not difficult, but I need to bring back to the drawing board and see how we can then, really integrate this furniture together. They're really nice pieces, and they have story behind it. And I respect the owner's, decision to integrate. But back to my company, right? Then we'll be thinking, what happens if we don't do it well? Yeah, the chances of breaking the item, the risk is there. How can you buy back the same item back for the customer?
Yeah,
that's the risk that we have to take. But being creative is also what designers have to do.
Yeah.
And we like to showcase our creativity so that, things are not always the same. And when we do that, they can keep their, timeless pieces, very nice. And then when they host their friends, there's a story to tell. And it also boosts our confidence when we take on referrals and other jobs. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, now Ili, because Singapore is very eclectic, right? We are multiracial and all that. Like I think what Julie and Ivan have both mentioned are really these kind of situations, and it's very real. Imagine you get one Peranakan fella, right? But they went to King Living. And what I know about King Living furniture is that it's got this very modern European vibes to it. Have you ever had that kind of situations where you have to integrate?
Interestingly, right, what you mentioned is it happened before personally when I was a retail consultant back in 2016, where we had a customer who came in and had printed clothing, loud colors, funky nails and all were different colors. And she wanted the same exact style with her furniture. She said, I've been to many furniture stores and no one can do it for me. I'm here to ask whether you have all these fabrics that I'm looking for, and it's like a patchwork, right?
Bohemian kind of.
Bohemian, yeah. And we do it. So we fill that gap, as a business. And if you read some of our stories over the last 50 years that we've been around, right, we build our furnitures based on every lifestyle that you evolve with. So for example, you come in as a young couple with a baby, right? You have specific requests, like you mentioned, fabric protection. So we do have that in King, where you can choose over 200 fabrics, thousands of colors, and put King Guard treatment. It's like a resistance to any stains.
Wax.
No, it's not. So basically, in the market, it's usually wax, right?
Yeah.
But with us, we have a very strict, ruling to the things that we put on our furniture.
Right.
So when we talk about King Guard, it's a coating that protects from asthmatic and stuff like that. So it's really carefully thought through. It's very safe for babies, for anybody who has eczema and stuff like that. So we as Australians believe, it's very important what we put into our products. If it's something harmful, we do not want to do that, which exists in the market.
Especially since people like binge at the sofa. Hey, drop popcorn already, you take it out and eat.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you consume.
So
The
that's
3-second rule.
Yeah. So the little thing that some Singaporeans still do not know, or Southeast Asia still are not aware, is the fact that in King, when they purchase like a 2-seater, right? In future, let's say you have 3 to 4 kids and you have grandchildren, you can actually add on modular sofas, modular seatings to it. So you can actually also reupholster. So let's say you have a change of style. Example, corduroy fabric is not very in right now, right? You can actually reupholster in leather as well. So the thing about King is not only that, if existing customers want to bring to their new location, they don't want to spend money on furniture, right? You can actually change not only the covers but the inserts as well. So independently.
So you refresh, refurbish.
Yeah, refresh, refurbish. People always think that it's expensive. Actually, it's not, and you don't have to change everything at once, right? Usually, like example, I've got cousins who have 11 people in the family, and my grandfather used to always sit at one spot and it starts to sag, right? Normal, because he's there like 9 hours a day. Yeah. And then he came back to me and said, I just want to change, and it was only like $80 for that seat.
Wow.
So 80 by 100. Yeah, so it's actually affordable. And what we'll do is we will come into your space and actually change the piece. But there are certain customers who are not willing to strip off in their home. We also provide a service where it goes back to our space, our technical room, and have it done. So it's only a matter of about 5 to 7 working days for us to do that.
Oh, I think that's a very good solution.
Yeah. I think that's the difference. I mean, if you were to use fashion as a very good analogy to this, right? It's the difference between fast fashion versus couture. So the fast fashion is that they don't last, and you normally don't attach sentimental values to it. Whereas couture is something that's tailor-made, and it's usually is more durable and stand the test of time. It's classic looking. And what you just aptly described, right, is artisanal. That your furniture actually has that value. So it's not fast fashion.
And also when you talk about tables or side tables, right, everything is modular in the business as well, whereby if let's say a wooden piece of table works for you 5 years ago and you have a customer who wants to change to marble, we sell loose pieces. We can just unscrew it and put it on. We do it on our tables as well. It's in every furniture that we design.
So you purposely make it modular so that it's able to, you can mix and match.
Can you change to a bigger
Yes, you
one?
can.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
With the diameter that can be a bigger one.
Yeah, so we actually basically design thoughtfully. We don't design for fast. Today you use it, tomorrow you throw it. It's about having sentimental value to it as well.
It's sustainable.
And evolve. Yeah, sustainable. Yeah.
All right, so now we move to the next segment, which is talking about like flexibility versus lifestyle reality. Got a question for King Living. King Living has been around for 50 years, right? So how has the furniture scene evolved over the years? And like just now, I think what you gave a very good example that, it can grow with you. But never mind, we will still want to know a little bit more, like how King Living, from these 50 years, manage to do this adaptability? Because what you just mentioned right now, right, it's like saying that you invest in this furniture, it will grow with you. We can't tell you what's going to be happening in the future, but we will design certain components that allow you to mix and match and change. So I guess that's one approach to this, but is there something more?
The fact is, we are very much design driven in terms of a person's lifestyle. So it's about comfort more than anything else. And what we usually do as a business is, of course, we attend, overseas fairs, but however, it's all about the proportion of a furniture versus a human being, we have deep seating, we have high back, low back, we have additional components that can take you through your life. Yeah. So when it comes to design in particular, we don't go with the trend. We build something that lasts forever.
But how do you gather that data? It's in like the R&D has conversations with the buyers?
Because we are fully owned, right? So when I say fully owned, we also have a design team that resides in Australia that gathers all this information through, the day-to-day customers. So whatever changes that we make to a specific design, for example, we've got the Delta and the Jasper for about 20 years right now. It's the same in terms of look back then, 20 years and now. What we do is we engineer, it to be more unique on its own. For example, if let's say in the next 3 years, right, the design is there's light under the table or light underneath the furniture. So we actually have Jaspers that has 24 different components where customers are able to do it with lights, without lights, charging components and stuff like that.
So
Integrate, yeah. So you can actually discard that one tiny component out of the 24 components and replace with the latest one. And even with color, it's the same, timber, right? Probably 10 years ago, walnut was in and the whole house was walnut. And then all of a sudden, Ivan comes in and, oh, you've got a Jasper. King can change, from a walnut to a timber. You just buy that specific component that you want to replace. So that's how we design things. It's not stuck with you. Even today, if you decide to have a black timber and tomorrow, 1 month later, you get sick of it or something happens and you don't feel like having it black anymore, it can change. And it will change entirely the look of the sofa as well. So when it comes to this design, of course, we follow closely with the trend, and big players like the Italian designers. But when it comes to designing it, we design for a lifetime, yeah. So we really have those things in mind.
Okay, so this is open to the floor. Do you think that what Eli has said is actually the countermeasure to the rise of the Taobao furniture scene? Because what she's saying is that the furniture evolves with you. It adapts with you, it can grow with you, even if it has a different change in style. Whereas Taobao furniture probably is cheaper. You have an exotic range, but maybe we can call it fast fashion or fast furniture. Do you all agree that what King Living is doing is probably the best countermeasure?
Of course. Yes. Yeah. I think it's not that comparable because in China there are so many factories. For example, in my company, all my commercial projects, the loose furniture and the office furniture, I actually import directly from the factory that is located in China, especially in Guangzhou. I will actually bring my client to the factory to really talk to the people there, and they will help us to come out a proposal right immediately, within a few days. Where for residential, I think, for example, King Living, I think is one of a very good choice, for residential clients, because for residential clients, they more focus on aesthetic and durabilities, where they are not looking at fancy functions and they are not so price sensitive, because my commercial client, they can be very picky on the price. They want the most cheap.
Yeah.
Because they're going to start a business. Let's say they want to operate a restaurant, right? The initial startup cost is the renovation, right? One of the biggest ones.
Lower their OPEX.
Yes, so they would rather go direct to the factory. But for residential, I think rarely there's people that I want to go over to the factory. So I think it's kind of different. Okay, so but we talk about Taobao. Taobao is like a marketplace. They gather all the factory sellers. So it's very difficult for you to filter, because all share the same specifications, all share the same advertisement. You can see every single furniture is it's cool, it's
It could be the
nice.
same photograph, but you see A grade, B grade, C
Yes,
grade.
yes. So if you don't have that experience, first few times you try Taobao, it's really about luck. Even for us as a designer, I also order some kind of hardwares and furniture for my client directly from Taobao. So I also got,
Kena scam.
broken pieces, broken pieces. If not, it's like
Kena scam.
Kena scam. But it's all experience lah. So if you ask me, I will always recommend residential client don't go for Taobao. If you can, try not to directly go through Taobao for every single pieces. Major pieces such as like dining table, sofa, bed frame. I think it's good to go with local and like for example King Living. Yeah, those like decoration pieces, items that probably every 2-3 years you probably want to change. You can go Taobao, right? Because it's not really for that kind of durability level.
But I want to ask this question is because, as much as government don't want you to ask to say it, but the reality is homeowners flip their homes. And what I mean by that is that after the MOP, they flip, they want to make their first pot of gold. Then with that mindset, right, would furniture be something that they would invest?
Like I said earlier, it really depends on how they value. But I think investing in furniture is a good choice because like what we discussed earlier, like there's clients that they actually have a statement piece from their grandfather, grandparents. So those are the ones that you can actually pass down to different generations or even, pass to your relatives' home. Let's say, for example, if I have a nephew, he just got his BTO. Hey, we have this wonderful furniture that we actually used for years. Then I can pass on to you, right? So that is something that is movable. You see, the fixed design and build fixtures is not able to, it only can only pass to the next homeowners, right?
We've got actually plenty of clients, Astley, who actually bought for their rented house. And what happens is they, every couple of years, they refurbish. Yeah, and some of them they bring back to where they reside, and then they make it slightly bigger, because it's modular, right? So you can add on, and you can refurbish. So in that respect, is you're not compromising quality of life. You can actually evolve with that piece and also use it for in other countries as well as you go everywhere.
I have a different take on Taobao purchases.
Yeah.
So like for resi clients, other than, the fixed furniture that we put in for them, the carpentries, I would always tell customer, get some loose furniture, like accent pieces.
To complete the design.
Yes, to add on character to the theme, right? Say mid-modern century. I can do up all the carpentries for you for storage and whatnot. That's functionality. But you need some like chairs to make a statement piece. Now, what happens is replicas come into play. And where should it be? China. So I will tell them, you know what? Take a picture of what you like, you see out there, or, then we can just get on with it on Taobao. But the risk is yours because, a furniture comes in, is massive. The risk is, can it fit into the lift? I'm not talking about like massive sofa. One piece of accent chair, okay, that's fine. I think our lifts can take it. But is the wood a good wood, for example? That's the risk that you're taking. What happens if, you get termites? Then sorry, not me. But as a designer, I don't mind to help you purchase, if you really want it. Because replicas can be really, cheap. I'm talking about 1/3.
Do you all foresee that you all will play that part and become furniture sourcers as well?
Yeah.
You will.
We require a certain level of trust from our clients so that we can really break out our comfort zone. I can really, source different type of furniture. I have supplier from Italy. I have supplier all over the place in China. But of course, I will help you to plan a budget. But we need that kind of trust because you see, I can't bring this piece to you to feel the pieces and you decide and put a deposit, right? I have to make the decision for you as client, and I need to make sure you won't blame on me that Ivan, this is not
Regret.
what you described. But you see, it's hard for me to bring a sample for you to choose and purchase.
But so there is still the risk factor. Ultimately, you don't have a showroom.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You want to challenge this?
Yeah, I will. Because the fact is, there's this level of indecisiveness. They want knockoff, but they want trust, right?
Yes.
So with a brand like ours, even as a designer, when you introduce us to your clients or your clients introduce you to us, right? There will be that level of friendship, or I would say, rapport, yeah, over time. And you don't have to worry as end users or designers of anything that will go wrong between the start or the middle or the end of the process, where, even if either or make a wrong decision and you want to change something, King will be there because we have spare parts. We have a customer service technical room in our space in all of our countries, where we send out our own team to repair, to refurbish, and so on and so
That's
forth.
great. That's helpful.
Yeah, so it's actually trust that we want with our customers, that you are not only buying for today, you're buying for something that happens. It may happen tomorrow. I have a client in 2019, a Malay client celebrating Hari Raya, where she made ketupat, and then she put the fire outside her living room. So it's at her entrance. So she was trying to bring charcoal from her kitchen to the front door, and you can imagine the sparks that flew, and it landed on her couch, and she just bought it like maybe 2 weeks before Hari Raya.
Okay.
So we sent our technical team to strip off one of our covers that we have, the same design, and put it onto her, so at least she can have a proper Hari Raya without feeling like, number one, your investment is gone, number two, even though if it's 900 or 1,000 plus, it's still money, right? So that client actually brought in 5 more clients, based on that experience alone. And this is true story, because you may have a kid also who you just receive a furniture, and the next thing you know, got scissors cutting across the leather, So it's that level of brand and trust. And we build our furnitures on steel, so you have a 25-year warranty on that as well.
This kind of service you will never get if you purchase from online, Taobao or factory. Yeah, so I think to pay a little bit more, but you are actually for the insurance, right? For the kind of quality, yes.
User experience these days are very important. Like even for designers, customers will refer you only when they feel like, my experience with you is really good, like your guanxi and everything. What are your added values, Added values means, can you do more than just ID? like the Taobao purchases, these are the things, value added, right? So when we do things like that, they remember you. Then they say, oh, she's very good, But recommendation aside, you need to, as a designer, we still need to know what are we recommending. For example, if they say, I need functionality and or aesthetics, and then my budget is low. Or I want a statement piece, but my budget is low. So as a designer, we still need to think, out of the box. So then maybe our recommendation come into play. Yeah. So then the experience is different. So I guess, like you guys, that's how your integrity works, right? With experience.
And we are not perfect. We have always told our customer designers, we are really sorry something may go wrong. Because sometimes, we don't factor certain things, like example carpentry work, and then you're trying to assess, right? And then all of a sudden, you didn't tell me there was carpentry work, over there, and it's really fixed. So how do we do it? So things may go wrong, but as a business, we will work closely, with the customer as well as importantly the designers, right, to ensure that the experience, it may have turned a shift, but we will undo it, and we are really good at it as a business because we've been trained to be like thinking like designers, right? Giving feedback to our design team as well from retail. So yeah.
End of the day, I think customers, what they want is, just get the solution, done, fixed, let's go. Ultimately, however you collaborate with whoever I put you through, you go and sort it out. I'm grateful.
They don't even want to know most of the time.
But eventually you will know customers are grateful for what you have done.
Ultimately, at the end of the day, each case is unique and it's contextual. For the case of maybe the homeowners are very budget strapped, or they are thinking of flipping, then for them their values are different. It's not that they don't value a good furniture, but perhaps they are looking at, when I flip, and then I can get more, then I can reinvest, right? But not at this stage of my life right now. So context to that, right? They still want to enjoy the aesthetics. They still want to enjoy certain kind of other comforts. And so they make decisions like that. And because Singapore largely has a very eclectic and a very wide mix of different type of homeowners. Like if you look at throughout whole Southeast Asia, Singapore is one of the most unique in terms of home ownership. And we enter as homeowners very early in our lives. So, and they're all in different stages. So it's unique lah. And because of this, it's even though the market seems to be a very small versus all our other Southeast Asian counterpart, it's very vibrant. There's a lot of this energy going on, including Taobao, including retailers, furniture retailers, as well as the ID industry. Yeah, so I think this is a matter of context. But awesome to hear everyone's perspective on this. Okay, so we're at this part of the program where we talk about designer and tradesperson's confession. Okay, so I'm going to start out with Ili since the topic is on furniture today. So my question to you is that what's one furniture truth that homeowners only realize after purchase and after the usage?
Some of them that come through the doors, right, are Taobao customers. I wanted to bring that back. And they said, the frame gave way after less than 1 year. And I said, in due respect, at least it served the purpose for what you were looking for, given the budget. For a year, right? Good enough, I feel. But the thing with King is we build our furnitures on steel frames. So a lot of the customers always don't factor that in, right? When they first purchase until they use it. And some of them, what happens is they get back problems. So when they come to us, we will say we are not doctors, but we do a lot of testing and R&D in our business. So therefore, the frames would last forever, in fact. We went from 15 years warranty back in 2015 and now 25 years. So it's just not a sales pitch, it's building trust and brand, so that they can come back and change. So let's say if it happens, right, they have a furniture that breaks. It's an immediate one-to-one exchange without any question. Yeah, it's an instant thing.
Okay, cool. We're going to move on to the second lady. And your question is, so looking back, do you think having worked in this industry change your own definition of what good furniture really means? And this could be either loose or customized.
So good furniture means comfort, ergonomic. It needs to be functional as well. If customers were to buy something that is not quality, and looking back at COVID, if they go to fast furniture and buy a chair, but they're going to sit there for 9 hours, I tell you, not even for a year, half a year or a couple of months, they'll feel backache and all the stress coming through. Because when you sit at home, it's very different from going into the office. Going to the office, you walk around, you talk to colleagues, you move around, you go for lunch. At home, you just sit. And then you get your helper giving you food. And everything is, constantly your mind's thinking and you're on the computer, right? So I think ergonomic makes a lot of sense for furniture. So quality, comfort needs to come into play.
Would you then say that because of COVID and because of the pandemic, we were all forced to really be honestly looking at our furniture choices? Like you probably bought thinking that, 1 year I spent how many times looking at that TV or using that kitchen, because half the time I'm outside working. All right? But during the pandemic, we were all stuck at home. And then suddenly a lot of things became brutally honest. And was there an awakening for you?
I guess pretty much, because these are the demands that is in place, right? So, you need to live with what's going on. Things that change and we have to adapt. And when we adapt, we have to call for example, your lifestyle changes. And when your lifestyle changes, you need to buy things that are quality, say multifunctional, because space is small. So as designers, we would then look at the space and then we will recommend our clients more purposefully, you need to have a purpose for certain things. So we ask them about their lifestyles. We don't just plan for the present, we plan 5 years down the road, for example, because a house is maybe for the next 5 years. Yeah. Things like that. If you don't ask the client won't tell you. So then I think, all this loose furniture come into play. Do we think that, okay, once I put in the fixed furniture, the carpentry goes on one side and it's enough for storage. I build it up all the way. You need to maximize the floor space as well. Once you put that into your plan and you discuss with the client, then it makes sense. Then when they buy loose furniture, then, there's a space for that purpose.
Okay, Ken. Let me ask Ivan for his opinion on one area of furniture that people should stop trying to save money on.
I think is cushion.
Cushion.
Sofa.
Comfort.
Yes, the comfort, the level of comfort. And throughout the experience, I know how different can a sofa or cushion be, right? When it comes to the material, the fabrics. I think Ely and Julie should be able to relate very well. Yeah, it's just like how we are sitting down here.
I also can relate. I also sit on sofa.
Yes, so you can tell, right, the kind of comfort level is really very different. I spend a 5-digit sofa, or comparing with I spend a $2,000 sofa, is very, very different. So I would definitely recommend all our clients try not to save on sofas and any cushion related items.
All right, this segment is actually called Astley Stirs. This bowl has got some, I hope it's tough questions. What's the most unexpected way people end up using furniture differently from intended? I really got 画面
I
already.
also got 画面. Sofa, you got to choose a very good sofa.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yes.
For the wrong intention.
Yes, must be around edges, bed frame,
Need high back or not? I don't know. I mean,
I think 这个 question 有点难
真难啊。
有点难，因为有点 A。
有没？No. I know. If you ask me, right, I would say the dining table.
Like multi-purpose.
Yeah.
You
There are 3 furnitures in the house. I help you answer. Become my problem.
I know already.
You want to okay, I say first, then you see you want to 補充 or not. Like, I think that number one, you step into the house, right, we have a dumping ground. You empty everything from your bag, wallets, whatever, you dump it there. So usually that's a shoe cabinet. But it's also where we keep our keys, whatever. Now they've got digital locks, but still people got car keys or whatnot. So that's the dumping ground. The other one is the dining table. It's supposed to be also very versatile besides the sofa. Right? The dining table is, if you have kids already, is arts and craft table, is the tuition table, is a punishment corner. Right? I mean, for me, it's like that. So I would say these 3 things. What about you? You want to add some more?
Same like let's say people want to eat on the bed.
Yeah.
Right, and drink on the bed. So you should actually don't misuse your furniture, right?
Have you ever had a client return or abandon an expensive piece of furniture? What happened?
No.
Oh, yeah, that finished already. No
That's
story.
it. No.
Really? Nobody abandons.
No. Because the whole process of buying from King isn't ready-made, right? It's customizable. So it's a thought process where it takes at least an hour or 2, or even sometimes more than 1 visit, right? So we will probe all the questions, ask what are the real things that they need in the sofa or furniture that they are looking for. So we don't have, unless they lose their jobs. That happens during COVID, after COVID as well, and in recent times as well. So for a customer to just abandon their order, never.
So I agree. Just like
reason.
you won't abandon your partner, right?
Your partner is alive. It's an item.
That's another episode for another discussion for another episode. Now we move on to Julie. I hope we save the best for the last. Do homeowners sometimes mistake expensive renovation for genuinely good design? Wow, this one good.
Yes. Customers sometimes do think that you're expensive, but the design that we give them are very well thought. So when they visit us, we will, share with them this is the design. After looking through the design layout and, after the space planning and everything, then we come to material. We need to choose the material. See, the thing is, if you don't pay for premium material, then you're not going to have your house look like a designer kind of a theme or a style, right? So we will then recommend the owners, you need to get natural stones. You need to really pump in a little bit more money on this part. But if your budget is this amount, then we can cut costs on certain things. Maybe something that is hidden, in the bedroom, for example. But I have this take on bathrooms. I always like to use really nice tiles for bathrooms because I feel like it's a small space and you can spend less money for the quality things. Yeah, because the space is small. So for instance, if you have a kitchen, the kitchen is big, right? It's massive. So when you want to buy really nice tiles for your kitchen, then you'll be like, it's expensive. So customers always have this thought about, okay, then how do we then use these tiles? I really like it, then we will give them options, oh, you know what? Maybe you can use it in the bathroom, which they never thought about. And it's really nice because I always like to go into my friend's house, the bathroom, and then I judge the bathroom.
Then you judge the cleanliness of the house.
Yeah.
Which is true. And bathroom, you can really stand out from all your friends and family members' house because
Yes.
there are so many choices of tiles, right? Living bedroom usually pretty much the same.
Yeah.
But bathroom can be very different, especially your master bathroom.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And you can choose to have a bathtub, right? You can choose to have a custom-made bathtub. You can choose to buy a off-the-shelf bathtub, and even the shower area, you can have a hexagon shape kind of tiles, or those like old school kind of tiles also can. So it's really a area for you to reflect your characters.
So that's why it's a small space, but then once you design it really nicely, when your friends come to, when you're hosting, and then they were like, oh wow, they remember those small little bits. But when you have a big space, of course, there's something to wow about. But in general, let's put it that way, if you have a theme, wabi-sabi, you go to any look on Pinterest, it looks the same. It's just, curve and all that, right? So is there something to wow about? Not really. Yeah. It's just, yes, I'm coming into a designer's house. So I think if we put our money wisely with the customers, right, when we explain it to them, you must make sense. Yeah. So once that makes sense and they think that, hey, that's not bad, then, yeah, why not? Then, the project can fly.
Okay, I hear you. My thoughts on this is that, and I'm sure both of you, the designers, always get this all the time. It's like luxury and expensive, but luxury and or rather expensive has to be very visual. But luxury is sophisticated, which I would say the general populace may not understand. Like 90% of people may not really understand what true luxury is.
I get you.
Yeah.
It's not like you have a marble finish wardrobe. It's a luxury wardrobe. It's not. You
It
put
just-
out a
yeah, it don't make sense,
stone.
right?
Yes. That's why we need us, right? So we can actually implement, all the materials.
Yes. And luxury means the materials that we choose are very important. So customers need us because when they think about it, they often go out of theme. So we will pull them back and say, hey, do you really... Because sometimes when we go shopping with them, all over the place. And then we will then ask them, do you still want this theme? Or do you really like this tile, for example? And then what about the laminates? So if you want this color theme, this, sophisticated look, then let's go with another theme. Sometimes after all this, like shopping and whatnot, the theme changes and we will conclude, something else.
Good.
Yeah.
All right, so we have the last segment, and basically is to give advice to our homeowners. And the advice, they asked me to give some advice on how to give advice, so therefore I'm going to be giving the advice. So my advice, my own personal take on advice since today's episode is on furniture, is that I think it's important to understand proportion. I think that furniture sometimes, if you have very high ceiling height, then I guess to a certain extent your sofa backer can be a bit more proportionally high. It's more comfortable. But there are certain situations after false ceiling and all that, and a little bit squash, and you still go for a very high back, though it's more comfortable, but aesthetically it may be a little bit more disproportionate. Then you end up not having a very high headroom kind of view. So I think some of these things needs to be discussed with the designer to kind of get the most optimized kind of visual effect. That's my advice.
My advice is to all the homeowners, right? Yeah, so I think To choose a designer, not just do renovation, but also someone who can thoughtfully curate the furniture and the details, and to be able to bring your vision to life.
My advice to homeowners are, don't be shy to get accent pieces for your house. And this can be, like a lounge chair. Don't stinge on it. Because accent pieces are, a topic of discussion when, your friends come, your family comes, and I think it will wow the house.
As Julie would say, don't stinge on accent pieces. I would say, as a whole, don't stinge on quality. Something's got to give, but nothing is going to serve you the purpose. If you stinge on quality products. So as much as possible, there are other methods of paying, such as what Ivan said to me earlier, loans. We can talk about interest-free payment plan. There's always that 25% deposit with King and the balance payment before delivery. So there are other methods that, when you come to a place like King, ask for that. Don't be shy.
Got a Tommy,
yes, we are going on board. Yes, we are.
Really?
We are going on board a couple of months from now.
Nice.
But
And
if
you
you
can
want to
earn points.
you can earn points. So you can do that 25% deposit first, and then once we have that, you can do the balance payment on other platforms. Yeah. So don't stinge on quality products, and also pick a furniture if you can. Come to King, but pick a furniture where you have warranty. Where for us 25 years.
Ultimately, you at the end of the day is to have focus on foresight, think about accent pieces, and think about not just indulging on aesthetic, but ultimately investing in the future and your well-being, staying in that space. So I think thanks for the advice. I think we've learned a lot in this episode of the SIXiDER Show. So if you like what you're seeing, please like, share, subscribe. Send it to your father, mother who's thinking about buying furniture, right? Send it to your uncle, whoever. And hope to see you guys soon in the next episode of the SIXiDER Show. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.